you so much, Captain Kazar. As I shared, pleasure to be here. Um, I do share quite a bit. I'm rather active on LinkedIn, so there's bound to be some amount of overlap. But just as far as my background, I've been looking forward to this advanced mobility space since 2010. I am a private pilot, so not as experienced as yourself. It's more recreational for me. But I'm also a Part 107 remote drone pilot. Um, I think having both gives an interesting perspective on this advanced air mobility space, because it does very much marry up um, the advantages that drones can provide, of course, from the advanced avionics. But also, I mean, the experience is just so vastly different. Certainly, when we look to the passenger use cases, I've had a number of discussions, both internal to the institute, but also with industry colleagues, that it's something that we often don't think about, right? Imagine for a moment, anytime you step aboard as a passenger yourself, there is a bit of comfort, right, in seeing, an experienced licensed pilot there in the flight deck. Um, I imagine your perspective is, well, okay, worst case, I could jump in if needed, right? But for the vast majority of people, right, there's no two ways about it. They're very much putting their lives in the hands of that flight deck crew. And I think in many ways, the way that I would describe at its very core, the Advanced Air Mobility Institute, we're doing our part to try to help increase public awareness in the first instance, and naturally, organically grow towards public acceptance, because this is a monumental shift, right? As we increase autonomy, eventually we'll ask people to shift from trusting a licensed, experienced pilot up front and instead trust an algorithm. And of course, all of us are familiar with our smartphones and our computers and whatnot. If there's any kind of issue and a phone crashes, of course, crash in that sense has a very different meaning. And so we just want to do our part to help advocate for everyday citizens around the world, and certainly ensure that these fully autonomous systems are not implemented any sooner than we can prove categorically that they are indeed safer for the flying public.
Great. So actually, you are on a mission to remove the pilots from the flight deck. Is it so?
No. Let me be very, very clear about that. Again, as a pilot myself, that I genuinely see need for highly trained, licensed human pilots for the foreseeable future, right? I mean, there are far too many missions and skill sets that human pilots are still certainly better at. Um, we're not on a mission. Yeah, I want to be very clear about that. Not on a mission to remove the pilot. Um, and in fact, there's a lot of interesting research coming out in the human factors space that points out that we also need to be careful, like during this transition, right? That the systems that support pilots, that they not bear so much of the work that leaves the pilots kind of lulled into this false sense of you know security, in that the system's just going to take care of everything, right? Where you start to lose a bit of focus. I think we're still quite a ways off from, no pilot up front on a large jumbo jet passenger aircraft, for example. But there's for example, if we are engaging in a search and rescue mission, not just use of drones to identify, perhaps with thermal imaging, where a missing hiker is located, but it won't be too far down the road where we actually have vehicles that can reach a much more remote, austere location, um, land in a safe location through vertical propulsion, and actually be able to, right, extract that individual from the dangerous situation. And it makes total sense that those vehicles that they be autonomous, right? Because of course, any time that we're sending an aircraft into a location where it's already, right, there's already someone in danger, someone at risk. That's a difficult decision to ask a pilot to go to that area with many brave pilots around the world. But to the extent that we can reduce the unnecessary risk, I think there's certainly value in that.